Wavetale is a post-apocalyptic action 3D platformer in a world of endless water, threatened by an encroaching darkness called gloom. Some time ago there was a war, a cataclysmic event occurred, and now society is in ruins. We play as a young girl who wants more out of her life than to live in the shadows of the past. The narrative contains obvious commentary on the folly of human greed, how industrialism and oil drilling will inevitably destroy our planet, and how corrupt politicians do everything they can to deflect blame. It also figures that the newest, bravest generation of humanity is our hope for a brighter tomorrow. I played the game up to the first boss, if you want to call it that, and while it's clear where the story is headed, I do appreciate art that is still saying important things about the world around us and gives children, teenagers, and adults alike heroes to believe in. Unfortunately, regardless of how much I enjoyed the themes, dialogue, and characterization, I found the gameplay to be pretty dull. And that came as a shock because the movement itself is fantastic. It's incredibly fluid, free, and allows you to chain moves seamlessly into one another to achieve great horizontal and vertical distance. It's fun to move around in this platformer. So what's the problem? Well, the game so far does almost nothing to encourage player agency, ingenuity, or skill. Even during the opening moments of gameplay, I was breaking the script by unintentionally grabbing items out of order, or clipping into environmental objects that aren't even that hard to reach. I'm not being sassy or exaggerating by saying most of this stuff was accidental. In most 3D platformers, the environment and challenges are built around the movement. In Wavetale, it feels like the devs were too afraid to do that. So instead of exercising any of your own skill, critical thought, or pathfinding, the game demands you follow an illustrated path where you get very little opportunity to do anything exceptional. This all came to a head during one particular tower climb. I was tasked with reaching the top and flipping a switch. So I did reach the top, rather easily. The game wanted me to activate a bunch of slow-moving elevator platforms to get up there, but doing that didn't even occur to me. I saw stuff to jump on, I jumped on it, and I got to my objective without any elevators. Except, I can't complete that objective, because in order for it to trigger, I have to turn on the slow-moving elevator platforms. Do I have to use them after activation? Are they even necessary for the gameplay? No. Why design the game like this? I got to the top of the tower, so let me proceed. There were a ton of other situations like this, such as this moving bridge. Moving this bridge into place is one of the major objectives of the level, but why? As you're seeing, I can just glide across the gap that the bridge fills. It's not a particularly hard maneuver to perform, and in most older 3D platformers, this opportunity would be used to teach the player to glide long distances, or better still, the player would be trusted to naturally glide across the gap because it's the most obvious way forward. The hand-holding was really bothersome, and it felt like the game never respected my intelligence or skill. Anytime I could do something skillful, it seemed incidental, like the devs never expected people to use the movement in that way. There were a couple of other minor annoyances, like how the combat is super easily cheesed with your overpowered AoE ground slam, or how the story exposition was handled rather lazily in a couple of spots. Overall though, the biggest issue was just a lack of faith in the player. If the game had a more rigid moveset, I wouldn't have been so disappointed that its design was just as rigid. But instead, Wavetale presented me with a much freer moveset and simply wouldn't let me exercise it creatively or provide any meaningful challenge. Bear in mind, I'm not saying this is a bad game. Not by any stretch of the imagination. These are just my impressions. A lot of love clearly went into this production, and I reckon for more casual platforming fans, it's fine. More than fine, even. But it's certainly not for me if this first stretch was any indication.